My journey to building a honey house in Ontario began with identifying the requirements for applying to the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership (SCAP) for a grant under the Honeybee Health Initiative. There were two levels of funding available: 50% cost share funding up to a maximum of $25,000 per registered commercial beekeeper, and 50% cost share funding up to a maximum of $4,500 per registered hobbyist beekeeper. To apply, an applicant must have 10 or more registered colonies with the provincial apiarist for the current season, have completed an integrated pest management course specific to Ontario from a recognized institution within the last 2 years, and be in compliance with all requirements of the law and must remain in compliance for the duration of the project. The intake of applications opened on September 15, 2023, and it will close when funding has been fully allocated. There are two eligible project completion dates: March 1st, 2024 for costs incurred on or before February 29th, 2024, and December 15th, 2024 for costs incurred between March 1st and December 15th, 2024. My approval date was November 23rd, 2023, with a start date of November 22nd, 2023. The project began with ordering a one-trip used container and the InSoFast container insulation package. Since the InSoFast insulation was applied with LePage's PL Premium construction adhesive that required a minimum temperature of 7 degrees Celsius to cure, and Great Stuff Gaps and Cracks expansion foam, I purchased 2 propane heaters and a huge tarp to cover the container, since the weather was forecast to be below freezing for the coming weeks, so we could preheat the container exterior prior to installing the insulation. The plan was to uncover the door end of the container, allowing the combustion gas that would have built up overnight to escape, and then enter the container to install the insulation. I arrived on location on the Friday afternoon to fire up the heaters and found that the tarp had blown off in Thursday's storm. At the time, the temperatures were above freezing and forecast to remain above 7 degrees C, so I folded up the tarp and stored it in the container. So on Saturday, we began installing the insulation, beginning with the corner kits and metal strips, and continuing to install the insulation in the end wall. Once the end wall installation was complete, we began on the sidewall completion. Each panel would have a bead of Great Stuff across the top to hold the panel temporarily in place, and along the 2 black plastic studs, the PL Premium would be applied, which would eventually hold the panel permanently.
You guys filming that crack right or not?
Are you videotaping
Not yet.
this one?
Yeah.
You gotta get your there we go.
Okay. The insulation on the sidewalls went about 16 feet down the container, leaving the end uninsulated, which was going to be used as a warming house, and we will be installing a stud wall in that location at the end of the insulation. By the end of the first day, we had both the sidewalls and the back wall completely insulated. And here's the team: my son William on the left, myself in the center, and Dan, my son-in-law to be, on the right. The second day was Sunday, and we were able to complete the ceiling in about 3 hours. The next week, we installed the insulation in the floor and covered it with 3/4-inch pine tongue groove plywood. I framed the end wall, installed the air conditioner and the electrical panel. Installed the door in the end wall. I installed the electrical boxes for the wall receptacles and the receptacles in the ceiling for the lights. We made a few mistakes, but we were able to correct them with the expansion foam. We then began by installing the ceiling and the wall paneling. This is MDF paneling that has plastic strips to join the ends or the sides. Once all the wall and ceiling panels were up, we could pull the electrical cables and finish the electrical installation within the walls and hang up the lights. Carol helped with most of the wallboard and ceiling installation. All the wire runs from the receptacles in the ceiling and the walls come back to the end wall, and all the wiring is then completed in the end wall and easily accessible. Once the wiring was complete, we enclosed the end wall. The next step was to install the laminate vinyl flooring. Unpack and assemble the Hilco 18 frame extractor and also the new uncapping tank from Hilco. I purchased a restaurant style stainless steel movable shelf and manufactured tables that we're going to use for honey bottling, lip balm making, and candle making. I installed some additional shelving above the work tables for decorations and some additional storage. The ceiling lights have different modes, either bottom lit and top lit, or just bottom lit or top lit. I began extracting with a 2-frame tangential manual extractor and a bucket for uncapping, moved up to the Pierce uncapping tank and a motorized extractor. Building this honey house is planning for the future. I'm planning to go from 10 colonies to 50 colonies in 5 years. When we do the first extraction in the honey house, I'll be posting a video on that.